among our group, dealing with the same situations in the same way each week. But of course, all situations vary slightly. We accept and understand this. And this is clearly a poor tackle. And I'm pretty confident if a red card had been given by Michael Oliver on the day, it would have been a very straightforward check complete. But he does.
Straightforward check complete. Meaning you, in your opinion, as an ex-referee, and obviously the VAR that you've spoken to, believe that Kovacic's tackle was a red card, because if it was given, you'd go, yeah, of course, it's a red card.
The issue is a yellow.
By the way, hit the like button, people. Make sure this gets shared. Make sure you're putting this out there in your WhatsApp groups. Make sure you're pushing it out there to people. Also follow our TikTok as well. Let's take a little listen to what he has to say.
Card. I think there's a few differences. The player Kovacic comes into the tackle with the right leg. There's some weight on the left leg as he kind of lunges in.
Lunges. Remember that language, lunges in.
The right heel hits the ground, and then the contact is a little bit more to the side with a kind of like an upright foot as opposed to a side-on foot that we saw with Gusto. A few small differences, I think, that led the VAR to feel that the on-field decision here of a yellow card wasn't clearly and obviously incorrect. And there,
what does that even mean? Wasn't clearly and obviously incorrect. You've just said if a red card was given, it would have been a very quick, we agree. Nobody would have disagreed. So if everybody thinks if it was a red, 100% it would have been a red. It being a yellow clearly means there is the possibility of there being a clear and obvious error, because a red card and a yellow card are very different tackles to most football fans. They truly are. Plus, he's using his foot hitting the ground first as being a reason as to why it's not a red, and the fact that the foot was facing upwards as opposed to the side. Fine. I saw Casemiro and Curtis Jones touch the ball first and then hit a player's leg. So why does the ground stop it from being a red, but the ball doesn't when you're actually trying to win the ball? Hitting the ball first should make it less of a red than hitting the ground, in my personal opinion. But I already feel like he's contradicted himself here massively in terms of what he's talking about. It doesn't make any sense. We haven't been shown the audio. Was that what was actually said, or is that a cover-up story that's been created by them?
Therefore, check completing it, feeling that if he'd have intervened, it would have been a re-refereeing of that decision by the referee on the field.
So what about the second one? And I want to
see, look, Michael Owen here. I don't mean this rudely, but why no challenge? This is my issue with so much of this. The mainstream media will not challenge. It should be, not me personally, but somebody like me, a football fan, someone that's confident enough to stand in front of the camera to ask tough, difficult, hard questions that also educate us at the same time, that maybe give us the insight we need to feel as though it might just be incompetence, but it definitely isn't corruption. Michael Owen just, okay, great, I'm moving on. Ridiculous.
I'm going to show it, but do you think he was fortunate to stay on for the second yellow card a little bit later on?
I do. I mean, obviously the VAR can't get involved. The second yellows are something that the VAR is not able to get involved in. But yeah, I think he was an extremely fortunate player to stay on the field of play. Of course, the referee, one of our best referees, one of the best referees in the world, Michael Oliver, will no doubt review that. He doesn't want to have a negative impact on the game by overreacting to something.
Blows my mind. Doesn't want to have a negative impact on the game, ruin the spectacle, damage the 11v11 by overreacting. It is not overreacting following the laws of the game. And you want to know why? I understand the calls for corruption. I understand why people definitely say they're incompetent and why fans are so angry, why fans are so disillusioned. Last week, they couldn't break the law when the game restarted. This week, they ignore the law of the game because they don't want to have a negative impact on the game. So 1 week you're following the law to protect yourself. The next week you're ignoring the law because you want it to be a good game of football. How on God's green earth does this make any sense? How is Howard Webb coming on TV and saying this? And more's the point, zero challenge from the mainstream media. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I wasn't a Liverpool fan last week. I'm not a City fan. I care about football. I care about it deeply. Why I spend hours a day talking about it. We've created this amazing community that you are all part of here at the Football Terrace, and we speak about it day in, day out. We love it. So much of our life is surrounded by it. It's part of our culture. Whether you're from London like me, Manchester, Liverpool, Dublin, New York, Singapore, Sydney, doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter where in the world you are, we love it. It's part of our day-to-day life. We care about these decisions. But the TV companies don't. We get spoken to like little children, like we're dumb and told, patted on the head and told to run away. But no, we have our own platforms now. We have our own voices. This is a disgrace. For me, all I've heard Howard Webb say is, yeah, we cheated Arsenal. But last week we cheated Liverpool. At the same weekend, I saw West Ham cheated this weekend. I saw a penalty not given for a push in the back on Ollie Watkins as he was about to strike the ball. There was a push on the back of a West Ham player when Isak did score. But there was also a push on a Spurs player when Luton scored, and it was disallowed for being a push. So how can it not be a clear and obvious error? If if a push can get a goal disallowed by Luton, how can a push not get a penalty for another team? We want answers. We want to challenge. So this isn't about defending Arsenal. Every week, somebody's getting cheated out of these decisions. And as we know, they make human error, which is fine, but there's no protocols to fix it. Equally, we now know, and this has all come out in the last few months, that sometimes they don't review things because they want to protect the referees on the field of play. Mike Dean's confirmed that. We now know that they referee the occasion and not the game by the letter of the law, which is horrendous. And they couple together with their mainstream media buddies. They're probably all friends. They probably all go out for drinks and dinners and are all chummy with one another because there's money to be made. But who is it that gets impacted? Our football clubs and us, the fans, every single time.
Diaz goal for Liverpool, which we knew there in the moment, that goal should have stood. They have admitted to that. It was right that the game wasn't halted because the play had restarted. Around about 20 seconds had passed, and IFAB law doesn't allow the process in place now that in the future they will manage to get this right. So the play had restarted. They weren't allowed to halt the game as well, because a lot of fans just saying, why didn't you just halt the game? And the video operator was saying, just halt the game, halt the game.
But I agree with that, Shaban. Once the game starts, you can't even start getting back.
Yes, you can. See, this is again. I know. Listen, Ali McQuest is a great commentator. He was an amazing player. I got a lot of time and respect for him. Not that he knows anything about me, but I think he's great. But he's so wrong here. Yes, you can stop it. If an error has been noticed, as sizable as a goal that should have been given, you can stop the game. This should always have been the case. The idea that you can't go back because of 20 seconds, maybe half an hour, yeah. But 20 seconds? Come on now. This is crazy. This is ridiculous. Unless someone's going to starve, go to prison, lose their life, something horrendous is going to happen, breaking rules and procedures that don't actually damage anybody, but for the right outcome, should never be scoffed at. And that, for me, is the biggest problem here that I see. Is that 1 minute we're sticklers for the rules to be followed, and the next minute we're not. 1 minute, no, you can't break that protocol. Once the game's restarted, we can't go back. Next week, someone will get 2 early yellow cards. Oh, they've ruined the game there. No, they haven't ruined the game. They've done what you asked them to do last week. The pundits and the media and the referees, I almost feel as though maybe there is this, listen, we want you to stick to the rules, but please don't ruin the games and the spectacles for television, for radio, for what we almost, the sideshow of football. The entertainment element of it, we don't want you to damage. That's how it kind of feels. Right? I just think football fans want the right decisions and want consistency on a regular basis. So now, as we've seen on this video, if anybody else has a lunging tackle where they hit shin to ankle height and the foot's facing upwards, it should be a yellow card, according to this decision. But it won't be. They'll get that wrong. pushes in the back are no longer fouls, but we'll see some penalties given for it and some goals disallowed because of it. They're now saying they'll never break procedures again, but we know referees don't want to impact the games negatively by overreacting, even when they're meant to be sending people off. Maybe that's why Newcastle didn't go down to 10 men. Maybe that's why City didn't go down to 10 men. But if so, why would you send Jota off the week earlier? The inconsistency, the lack of transparency, the incompetence, and the potential corruption, and I say potential, I'm making no accusations, but to believe that there is not the possibility that there is something untoward going on within football would be delusional, because corruption exists at every level of life in every part of the world. Facts. I can't believe what I'm hearing here from the people that help run our game and the mainstream media and the professional pundits that talk about it. Why are fans not being... We the fans should be allowed to question them. We the fans should be allowed to challenge them. Arsenal being cheated like this, Liverpool being cheated like this, West Ham, Villa, all being cheated and robbed. And it just being swept under the carpet makes me feel genuinely sick.